Hannah, thank you very much for joining us today. Hannah, you're the owner of Peppermint Cloud, and you have been for just over 4 years. Is that right?
Yeah, since 2018.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you're a relatively new firm. So I guess it probably would be helpful for people listening just to understand a little bit about how that came about, what the last 4 years have looked like for you. So do you want to maybe start by giving us a little bit of your history and background and talk to us a little bit about how Peppermint Cloud came about?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Hannah. Me and my business partner Karen, who had previously worked at another firm years before, decided to get together and start our own. It was a bit of a last minute decision as I was made redundant, and Karen was working self-employed at the time, but we had the opportunity to start our own business and just decided to go for it. Life's too short and all that. So we are based in Wiltshire between Salisbury and a little village called Mere, which is on the Wiltshire, Dorset, Somerset border. And we act for lots of different clients, small sole traders to large limited companies, do personal tax returns for people. And we've got quite a mix of clients now.
So what was the initial? Where were you before that, Hannah? Were you both employed with bigger firms, or what were you doing before you set up on your own?
So I was employed by a small local company and was then made redundant. And Karen was previously employed by a big, large corporate firm, and then decided to go self-employed. Just wanted a bit of a change in her work-life balance.
Okay, so I'm fascinated because there seems to be a bit of a trend right now. So you were probably ahead of the curve, I think, in terms of where you and your business partner kind of started, but I think certainly over the last couple of years with the pandemic and people being technology allowing people to do this much more readily, there seems to be a bit of a trend towards it. What was it like going from the security of working for somebody and having a paycheck land in your bank at the end of every month to being out on your own, day one, likely no customers, no processes, no software, no office? What was that experience like for you both?
Do you know what? We got together and we were chatting and we just decided, shall we give it a go? And to anyone else out there who might be thinking about doing it and might see me or see anyone else and think, gosh, you've got to have lots of costs to start your own business. We literally sat across the table from each other with a coffee and said, right, one of us or both of us are going to have to go out and find some clients. And we just stared at each other and thought, we're not confident enough to do that. And you literally have to just do it. And then you just learn that actually it's absolutely fine and people are really nice in general. And you just kind of think, well, we've got to make this work because Karen has children. And like everyone else, we both have bills to pay, and you just kind of think, right, sink or swim, let's go for it. And it was the best thing we ever did.
So what was it? Because I think that's one of the I haven't spoken to a lot of accountants about this sort of thing. That is one of the things that really puts people off, is kind of you almost need to become, dare I say it, a bit of a salesperson. So you need to kind of find clients, and whether that be through marketing or through direct conversations or through networking or whatever it is. How did you do that, and how did you kind of accelerate that to the point where you are now, where you've got a kind of book of clients?
Yeah, so we started off with a few sort of friends and family type small jobs. We then, through word of mouth, through those connections, picked up a few others, and then we mainly did it from social media. And neither of us are particularly the kind of people that want to shout about about how good we are. We're just not that kind of person. So we've on word of mouth and just building relations with people, where it became a joy to work with other people. And it's really gone from there. And our most of our clients now have come from one connection or another. And like to this day, we've not spent even £1 on advertising. We've either done it through social media or meeting people or word of mouth.
Yeah, that's it's fascinating how valuable that stuff can be to people when they're starting out. And I've spoken to a couple of other people this week alone who are really starting to double down on making sure they've got the right content for social media, they've got the right position for their business and for themselves. So there's kind of this the ability for the individual to put the business in the spotlight rather than themselves. So back to your point, you don't want to be in the spotlight. Lots of people don't want to be in the spotlight, but it's important that the business is highlighted, and you can kind of achieve that if you're careful with all that stuff. So your clients, by the sound of it, Hannah, are very they're right in the sweet spot or right in the firing line, depending on which lens you want to place on it for MTD.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that, and how are the clients feeling about that at the moment? How much of a topic is it for you?
To be honest, it's not too much of a topic at all, because when we started, we made it our aim that obviously MTD was coming and was already in place for VAT registered businesses already. Yeah. Anybody that comes into us has to use cloud-based software, and we basically get them set up and ready for it, even if they don't have to use it yet. And anybody that has come to us that is kind of like a traditional spreadsheet type job, we are gradually moving over, and there aren't an awful lot of them left because we've been moving them over in kind of chunks as we've gone. Right. So we've, I don't know whether we call us ahead of the game, but we're pretty well prepared. Good.
Okay. And do you think the technology conversation with those clients has been an easy one? Have you been able to, when you're talking to them, if they are spreadsheet based, or if they're, the typical shoebox full of receipts type customer, are they quite willing to adopt the technology? Are they comfortable with it? Are they kind of resisting it? How do they feel?
I think you do generally get a mix of people. So you'll get people that are they just want the quickest, easiest way, and yeah. You could tell them to do anything, and they'd be pretty happy to do it as long as they've been trained. And then you get people that are in the middle that aren't really sure. And then you tend to get, there's like a group of people that are almost fearful of change. Mm-hmm. And it tends to be people where they have done it a particular way, so by hand or through a spreadsheet for a long period of time. And I suppose like with anything in life, we're all a bit fearful of change sometimes. But as long as we kind of do what I'd call a bit of hand-holding, provide them with all the training, and just say, you can get in touch if ever there's any problems. But a lot of those people we tend to do a large part of the job for, and they just input, say, their sales invoices. So they've got control over the part that they need to do, but they're not kind of sat there thinking, oh gosh, it's a new system, I don't know what to do, and just feel overwhelmed. We just sort of don't let that happen. Right.
Okay. And I think the technology piece, combined with your customer base and where you are, you're I think we'd be safe in kind of classifying you as a digital native firm. So I think you've kind of grown up with in the digital environment, with all of the tools at your disposal. How has the kind of pandemic accelerated that? How has it hindered that? And where do you find yourself now, particularly around things like remote working and what I'm talking about here is how you guys work rather than how your clients are working. How has it manifested itself for you and your business partner?
So when Karen and I started Peppermint Cloud, we wanted it to be flexible. Karen has children, and like everyone else, we all have busy lives, and we just didn't want to be stuck in that traditional kind of, you have to be sat in an office 9 till 5 every day. Yeah. So to start with, we decided to run the business from both of our home offices, and we are nearly 30 miles apart. And then when COVID hit, we were already about 80% cloud-based or 80% paperless, whichever way you would look at it. And when COVID hit, obviously, that could not happen anymore. So I think I sat for a whole weekend, and the bit of paper that we did have all got scanned in. Yeah. And now we are 100% paperless. So even if a client brings in that kind of that old school way of like a box with receipts in it, they all get scanned. They all go into a digital system. So we are 100% paperless, which is a great feeling.
Yeah. So which technologies do you use? Could you just talk us through what you use? Not in a huge amount of detail, sort of technology wise, but just to give people an idea of how you've set this up and which tools are most important to you. Could you just give us a high level view?
Yeah, sure. So we use a type of receipt capture software. I don't know if you want me to name it.
Yeah,
We
that's
use some,
fine.
yeah, we use something called auto entry.
Yeah.
So either we or clients can scan, email, or take a photograph of receipts, and they then become digital and go to like a central platform which we can then access. We use Xero for bookkeeping. We are almost a 100% Xero firm. There's a couple left to move over. And anybody new coming into the business, we kind of stipulate they have to use Xero, just because that is a piece of software that we've sort of become expert at, and we kind of think that if you're kind of better off offering a service where you're an expert of one rather than trying to spread yourself too thinly. And then for us, which is not to do with the clients, we use Iris, obviously, as you know, to do all of our accounts and tax preparation.
Yeah. Okay. And practice management?
At the moment, we use something called Centre, which is we know about. But I think we may end up moving to Iris Elements when that's a little bit more when that's a little bit further down the line. But I'm in talks with Iris at the moment about that.
Okay, that's good to know. So from a technology point of view, it sounds like you've got pretty much all of that captured. From a social media point of view, you've got all that captured. So you really are kind of the digital native. So what does expansion look like for you guys? Are you quite happy where you are? Do you want to maintain this kind of this position, or do you want to expand? Do you want to take on new clients? Go maybe more complex clients? What's the plan?
To be honest, we right at the beginning, we thought that we would need some kind of administration staff or bookkeepers, but actually technology has remove the need for that entirely. We would like to grow in terms of staff members in future years, but at the moment we haven't needed to, because we rely very heavily on technology to do a lot of the processes for us. In terms of clients, we are just growing at a steady rate. We work with a lot of tradespeople, creative people, people in like the film industry. We've got a couple of clients there. So we've got a nice spread of clients. So we've just kind of like let it grow by itself, and we never thought we'd really get to where we are today. So it's been a great journey over the last 4 years.
Okay, so I was speaking to Lucy Cohen yesterday, and she was talking about niching down into certain either industries or customer profiles. Is that, when you just as an example, like the film industry, is that do you see that as a niche, or is it just something that you've got to spread across multiple different categories of business, and you're kind of more specializing in the smaller firms? Is that the thinking?
Yeah, so the film industry clients actually have come to us just through word of mouth of a couple of other people. I'd say our main kind of category of clients are creative people, people that some of them produce personalised like giftware and things like that, which again we got through word of mouth. Our main kind of core clients and what we're kind of targeting in the future are tradespeople, and that was never a niche we expected to kind of target it, but we've just picked up a lot of those clients as they are around the area where we both live. And in terms of what we have to support them with, what they need, Karen and I can both do that. It doesn't tend to be too complex in terms of the work. And we just get great satisfaction with being able to help these small businesses, because I guess in a way a lot of these businesses are small sole trades or small limited companies, and you feel like you're part of the team, which gives us great satisfaction. You're not just the accountant that they speak to once a year, but you become part of their financial team, really, which is really good.
And how does that? Because again, with you being remote and you don't have a location, you're kind of mainly digital. How does the client engagement work? What does that look like? So if it's a tradesperson or somebody in the film industry who kind of comes to you and they say, look, Anna, we want you to look after the limited company, we want you to do the payroll, whatever it might be. How does the engagement work over an extended period of time? Is it kind of regular Zoom catch-ups or phone calls, or do you find that you're taking on the work and there's not a need for that engagement? What does that look like?
You do take on a small amount of people who just say, I literally want to talk to you once a year, and I'll message you if I get stuck, but we still like to keep in touch with those people and make sure they're okay. But the majority of people, we tend to keep in touch with regular Zoom calls. If they're local to us, we now can see them again, because obviously during COVID, you couldn't do any face-to-face meetings. So Zoom became our best friend, really. And it's just made it so much easier, because we've got clients all around the country and even some abroad. And like we're speaking now, it's like we're in the same room. So Zoom has become like another member of staff for us, really, because it saves so much travel time. We've got clients in Scotland, and we've got clients in Devon, and it's just saves so much travel time. So you can just log in here, have a chat, and then carry on with your day, which is brilliant.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting point, actually, and it's something I've spoken to a few people about, which is the nature of competition for accountants now. So whereas once upon a time, your kind of high street accountant was in competition with, the kind of the second high street accountant, 10 doors down, or maybe the person next town over who was able to take customers from 10, 15 miles. It's very, very different now. So you've got clients in the four corners of the UK, all over the place. So you're competing with firms in Scotland, with firms in the north of England, the south of England. Does that change how you market the business and how you acquire, and then also how you retain customers as well?
I don't think so, the way it's just become, I guess, once you've made a good relationship with a client, and they know that they can come to you if they've got queries, if they should then recommend us, that kind of gets carried on, and then you make a new relationship with somebody else. And like location has become irrelevant because of these, the ability to use technology. As long as they, if they're in Australia, as long as they don't expect you to turn up in 2 hours' time to meet for a coffee, and they're happy to do it on Zoom, then it's absolutely fine. But in terms of how we market it, we've never really marketed it anything as within a certain area. We've more said, we are looking to work with these kind of businesses, and then you just kind of, you pick them up, and generally they're in the area that we kind of live in, because it's through word of mouth. But location has just become irrelevant. It doesn't really matter where they are.
Yeah, no, I agree. What would you say is your firm's unique proposition? What is it that you do? When you're talking to a client, how do you articulate the value that you can deliver versus the accountant down the road, or the accountant in Scotland, depending on where somebody else is? How do you articulate that to clients?
I think we try and come across that we're not like a traditional accountant. We don't bill for every 6 or 15 minutes of time. So we want to make sure that we are very open to client communication and queries, and we never want clients to feel like, oh, there's always a stupid question, as they call it, or a silly question, and I don't feel that I could ask Hannah or Karen about it. So we're always like, no matter what the question is, talk to us, and we'll help you with it. So we don't charge based on anything like that. We just charge for the compliance we do. So we've got a very kind of like open door policy. If you've got queries, send them to us. And because we offer that service, you actually find that people don't tend to use it all that much. It's almost like if you did have to charge for questions about software and things, they wouldn't ask you, and then when you come to do their work at the end of the period, it's a lot harder, because they know they've had a problem, but they won't ask. So we just from the beginning, we were like, stamp that out. We don't want that. We want clients to be able to have like a almost like a friendship with us, I suppose, because then it means that you get to know how their business works and about them as people, and it just, I think you can provide a lot more value that way.
Yeah, no, okay, I understand. What do you have any badly behaved clients? Because it's something I hear a lot, is kind of clients who they're not kind of taking advantage of your good nature and asking you questions, but they're just not adherent to the workflows that you want them to or the timelines that you kind of put down for different things. Yeah, and I'm not asking for names, by the way, but do you have any like that? And if so, how do you manage them? What do you do with clients like that?
We do have a couple of repeat offenders, I should say, but it's because they are overloaded with work. And the couple that I've got in mind are in the process of growing their business, and I'm sure, as you know, growing a business comes with a lot of stress and taking on staff. So it's more through lack of time, not because they can't be bothered, or they don't, they don't want to get their back return stuff to us on time. And we just tend to send them a couple of reminders and say, look, if you can't get the stuff to us, like, could we just make an exception, pop round and we'll grab it, or how can you get the stuff to us easiest? And we'll, things like auto entry, which I mentioned earlier, just sit while you're watching telly at night, can you just open your phone, take a photo of all your receipts, and we'll just deal with the rest. So we try and make it as easy as possible. And to be honest, those couple that I had in mind then have been pretty good. And it's purely just because people are busy. At the end of the day, when they get home, the last thing people want to do is sit and look at their accounts or look at their receipts. So by providing,
I think that's why people ask, are accountants getting marginalised? And I think for that exact reason that you just articulated there, that's why I can never see that happening, because I've still got small businesses, I've run small businesses. The last thing I want to do after a 10, 11-hour shift is sit down, open the laptop and start doing accounts or books. So all of that stuff is much better served by somebody who has dedicated resource and an eye on the detail to manage that as well. So I completely agree with that. Right. So I guess what I'd love to get your take on a couple of things which are connected. One, if you could go back and talk to Hannah and her business partner in 2018, what would you be telling them to do that you've learned over the last 4 and a bit years? And also, what advice, if it's different, what advice would you give to people who are thinking about doing this themselves for the first time?
I would say the most important thing is to just go for it. If you've got a dream and you want to do something, don't let anybody suggest that you can't or try and stop you. And I just think, confidence is built as you go. Neither of us knew how to make a sale when we started at all, to be completely honest. And you just go and you talk to people, and just by being yourself and making having a friendly conversation with somebody, you naturally make a sale without sitting there and saying, I can sell you this, which is something we've never done. I think just be confident, go for it. And I think the biggest lesson that both of us have learned is not to feel like you have to take on every job, because you will come across some clients who will perhaps not respect you, clients that maybe don't want to work in the way that you work. And when you're a new business, it's very easy to feel like, I have to take on every job that is available. And actually, you soon realise that you don't. And by taking on the wrong job sometimes takes up more time than if you'd had 3 right jobs. But you only learn that through experience and getting to know how you both work and how you work with clients, and then over time you just realize actually this particular client isn't a very good fit for our business, and that's how it is. But it hasn't happened with very many of them.
Well, I guess that's a kind of testimony to the last comment you made around your kind of bad clients, and the fact that you're qualifying clients in at the beginning means that logically you don't get any bad clients once you've got an established relationship with them, because you've weeded them out in the early stages. So it's an important lesson, and it is difficult. Again, I've been there, not in an accounting business, but I've been there as a small business owner where you've got bills to pay. You just want to take on any client, so it's an easy trap to fall into for sure. Okay, Hannah, that's been fantastic. I guess the last question for me is, if you could give one piece of advice to everybody listening, bearing in mind we've most likely got accountants in industry, we've got accountants in bigger practices, we've got accountants who are just setting up for the first time or thinking about it. What one piece of advice would you give to everybody that they could action today?
I'm not sure whether they could action it today, but my best piece of advice would be to get to know your clients well. If time allows, but make the time to get to know them well. And they should be a client, all being well, for a very long time. By just taking people on, not getting to know about them and their business, you learn so much more from having a conversation with somebody, you know, about their family, the reasons why they're running the business. You know, you get to know what the dog's called, and you'll often find that most of those reasons, decisions why, you know, people are doing what they're doing underpin the reason why they're in business. And often any business issues can be solved by looking at what is going on behind the scenes, if that makes sense. So I would just say, you know, get to know your clients, and you'll really enjoy going to work every day.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. Hannah, if people want to get in touch with you after they listen to this, how can they do that?
They can email me. I can give you the email address, and that can go online, or they can give me a ring. We're having a website built at the moment, so that's not online yet, but it will be shortly. So yeah, I can give you my contact details and put them online.
Okay, fantastic. Hannah, thank you very much. Have a great day, and hopefully we'll get to see you again soon.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.